So this is my office. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy day. I know it's not quite as warm as it has been, but it's gorgeous out. So thank you for popping in. I really, truly appreciate it. And as a thank you, I am doing giveaways. So I've got 6 gift cards. So I'll do 3 for today's open house, 3 for tomorrow's open house. Hi, Heidi. So make sure you throw a comment in, and throw in your location too, just so 3 of them are Seth's. So I want to make sure those go to local people. And then I've got some Target gift cards too. And then I'll draw them at a future date. So make sure you're following my Instagram and Facebook so that you can see if you've won one of my giveaways. So I have not really hosted a virtual event before. So I'm going to try and keep this kind of as casual as possible. If you're like, hey, I want to be nosy and see what your office looks like, throw that in there. If you're like, hey, I love my logo, love my pegboard. If you're like, hey, who made that out? No, try and just keep it casual, throw it in there. If you want more educational, informational, throw that in there too. I'm going to kind of try to hit a little bit of everything. Hi, Kelly. So yeah, feel free to just keep commenting so we can keep it interactive. Talking to my phone is not super natural to me, so comment as much as you can so that we keep it natural. So I'm going to kind of give you the overview. So I've been doing cranial remolding helmets for about 10 years. But it wasn't until about 3 years into that I had a more personal experience. So my son Warner, immediately after he was born, I noticed he had kind of a flat spot. And it was something that bothered me. But people kept saying like, oh, you're just noticing it because this is what you do. I'd been doing cranial remolding helmets for about 3 years. So people were like, oh, you're just noticing it because that's what you do. It's not that big of a deal. Brought it up to my doctor. He too was like, oh, don't worry about it. It'll get better on its own. Hi, Katie. And it just continued to bother me. So I had this huge knowledge base, and this was still something that I didn't feel confident in. 40 to 50% of babies have some sort of cranial asymmetry, some sort of flat spot or asymmetry. That's a big number, but about 20% of those are actually the moderate to severe cases. A lot of those are mild. But that means that there's still a lot of moms out there questioning, where does my baby fall? So kind of to put it in perspective, there's about 60,000 live births in Wisconsin. So that means about 30,000 women might be questioning, I shouldn't say just women, parents, might be questioning the head shape of their baby. And they don't have the knowledge base that I did, so they really don't know. And they might be bringing this up to their doctor, and their doctor's telling them, don't worry, just wait and see. But we're a society where wait and see doesn't really work anymore. We want answers. We want to know what we're supposed to be doing. How can we be preventative? How can we be, treating this? And that's where Baby Bear Cranial Clinic was kind of born. I worked really hard to kind of push this idea in our community and make sure doctors felt confident referring to the clinics that I was working at, so that they didn't think, oh, well, if you go there, you're getting a helmet no matter what. Well, no, but I can take some really good measurements. I can take a scan. We can get some really good objective data so we can determine, hey, does your baby need a helmet? Do they not? Where do they fall? So really the early diagnosis we can do in those free consults. We can do resources, education. If I feel like, you haven't tried physical therapy yet, and that might be a really good route, I've got good relationships with therapists. We can refer you there as well. So kind of to come back to Warner and his head. So this continued to bother me. And by 10 months, it was like, okay, it still bothers me. I need to do something about this. So I ended up getting him a helmet. He wore his helmet for about 2 months, and I felt like I noticed big improvements. Even though it wasn't, the numbers weren't that high, he wasn't in a severe category, he was in more of the mild to moderate. We were able to get that down into the normal category, and that just made me feel so much better. And that is not at all what I recommend. I recommend that people come in about 2 to 4 months so that we can start that early diagnosis and early treatment prevention, and go from there. So with Baby Bear Cranial Clinic, what I really wanted to do is make sure that people can take advantage of these services, and they're going to walk in, they're going to feel comfortable. My lobby, I feel like the moment I wanted to start Baby Bear Cranial Clinic, I had like this vision of what it was going to look like. And it turned out awesome. I love the space. But so you can walk in, you can feel comfortable from the moment you step through the door, and you can step out with the confidence that no matter what your decision is, you feel educated and you feel like it's the right decision. You feel confident in that decision. Any questions on kind of all that spiel? I know there's a little bit of a lag, but so kind of in the comfortable thing too. So another part of it is nobody wants their baby to have to wear a helmet. It's not that big of a deal. I try and tell parents, like, the parents usually are more bothered by it than the babies, but it's not that big of a deal. And so try to have fun with it. So what I've done is kind of bring the fun right to the clinic. So you can see here I've got these adorable little dolls that have helmets on them. So everything's kind of right here, super convenient. So these are the My Tiny Noggins dolls. Stephanie at My Tiny Noggins has just been amazing. She's been an amazing support to me, my clinic. I love her product. She goes above and beyond. But so like these are here. What I found with the dolls, like big sister, big brother, that it kind of brings them into the treatment. It's like, oh, my baby has a helmet too. Because a lot of times what we hear is once the baby gets home and big brother or big sister's like, well, I want a helmet too. So they go out and like get their bike helmet or whatever. But just kind of a way, and then, babies too, it's just a cute kind of keepsake. We also have the decals. So, we have the decals right here. I got them from Bling Your Band. Again, awesome resource. Nathan at Bling Your Band has been fantastic. A lot of times I would hear from parents like, oh yeah, I'm going to do the stickers. And then the next week they'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot to order the stickers. I need to do the stickers. Because they just make the helmets super cute. They make it more fun. They make it less of a stigma and more of like, oh, your baby's helmet's so cute. So we've got those right here in the clinic. A lot of really cute designs. Packer ones. We've got the Packer ones. So yeah, we got our pegboard of merch. Does anybody have any questions here in the lobby? You want me to kind of spin it around so you can see? So you walk in, and it's backwards, but walk in. This is the lobby. This pegboard was something that I had envisioned right away when I had the idea for Baby Bear Cranial Clinic, and my dad and my husband did a fantastic job executing that. It looks awesome. Oh, thank you, Kay. So I am located at 2535 Northern Road. If anybody has been to Little Critters Pediatric Dentistry, I am literally right above them. So down there is Dr. Kita and Dr. Whitney. Amazing. And yeah, so it's like right off of the Prospect exit, and then we're on the frontage road there. And then next door we have Valley Periodontics. Dr. George, he owns the building. He's been fantastic. Yeah, so kind of right off the Prospect. It's super easy to get to off of the highway. It is super easy to get to when you get in the parking lot. You walk in the upstairs top door and you kind of run right into our clinic. Lobby 2, I don't know if I said this, but I was thinking it, tried to make it as toddler proof as possible. So I have a 20-month-old at home. He still seems to get into things he shouldn't, but very toddler proof. You can't see it, but I've got like a little toy area here to minimize so that we can wipe it down. Really easy, but we've got that here too. Okay, in open house style, I'm gonna walk around a little bit. So everybody on, it looks like there's about 17 of you. Make sure you comment because that's how you're going to get entered for the giveaway, which is a couple of gift cards. And let me know kind of what you're looking to get out of this so I can make sure I touch base on everything. So we walk in. Here's kind of that kid area I was talking about. Just some toys that I can easily clean. So then we come down the hallway here, and I'm going to walk back into my exam room. So this is too what I was talking about, like awesome locations. So looks out. A lot of times we see like deer and turkey back there. So this is my exam room. Thanks, Grace. So this is my exam room. Again, just tried to keep it really kind of fun, comfortable. We've got down here like a little playmat area, and that kind of has dual purposes. So I want to see when I'm fitting a baby with a helmet, I want to see them like down rolling around on the mat. A helmet can fit great when the baby is sitting on mom's lap, but we want to make sure that like when they're laying on their tummy, on their back, that it's fitting kind of however they're moving around. So we've got the mat there. And then also like if we want to kind of look at tummy, like, okay, what kind of tummy time activities are you guys doing? Maybe I have some suggestions. I'm not a therapist, but I do have a lot of experience with this, and I work closely with therapists. So we can sometimes touch base on what some good exercises might be. Okay, so Hill from Freedom asks, other than cosmetic, what are some of the health benefits of a helmet? So when we're looking at doing a helmet, I kind of say there's threefold of why it would be necessary. So sometimes cosmetics is part of it. That's just society today. I think sometimes we try and say, like, I don't want to use scare tactics and say that all these medical things are going to happen if you don't do a helmet. Part of it is cosmetic. But there is part that is of medical concern. So when the head starts to shift, it's not just flatness, it's the skull changing shape. And a lot of times, so with plagiocephaly, where we have flatness just on one side, so there's brachiocephaly, which is flatness in the back. That really became known and really spiked in occurrence after the Back to Sleep campaign in the mid-90s. So babies started sleeping on their back. We started seeing a lot more of these head shapes. That also kind of goes hand in hand with more container use. So there's just a lot of devices out there, and we all use them. I've used them, but sometimes that can contribute if there's kind of a pre-existing reason or they already have a flatness. So kind of circling back. So there is cosmetic, then there's the medical concern. So when we see that shifting, you see eye shift, you see jaw shift, you can see inner ear shift. So you're seeing a shift in things, and that's when we want to really try and get that symmetry back so that there aren't any vision problems, jaw problems that we could potentially be improving by getting that symmetry back. And then the third one, I call it like the functional benefit. So think like sports helmets, hockey helmets, football helmets, construction, hard hats, things like that. When you have a really misshapen skull, those things don't fit right. So if you have flatness on one side and everything's shifted, those helmets can turn. So kind of that functional benefit as well. So thanks, Hill, for throwing that out there, because that is huge. Yeah. So just gonna say like what we would do in here. So we would do that evaluation. I would go over that stuff with mom and dad. We would take a series of measurements so we know where the severity falls, because based on severity, there's different recommendations. In the mild category, we might say, all right, let's really just keep working on tummy time. Let's work on repositioning and maybe do some therapy. When you're in the moderate or severe categories, then we want to think about starting a helmet a little bit sooner, because helmets are based off of growth. So we're not pushing on a baby's head to try and reshape it. We're holding any spots that are high and letting the head grow into the space that we create in the helmet to create a more symmetrical head. So the way that we're getting correction is the baby's active head growth. So the sooner we start a helmet, the more correction we're going to get and the faster we're going to get, because babies' heads grow on an arch. They grow faster the younger they are. It tapers off up until about a year. After a year, the head starts to really kind of slow down, and helmets can only be worn up till 18 months based off of FDA rules and regulations. So the helmets are regulated by FDA. So in here, we would do that whole evaluation. We'd kind of see where the severity is at. So the other kind of fun thing we can do to figure out that severity is we do a scan. So if I wheel my little table over here, can everyone see that okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can kind of see it good. Okay, so Sarah Beam asks, what if your baby grows, their head gets bigger, will the helmet still fit? So the helmets are designed with growth in mind. So there is going to be space. So theoretically, if they grow into that helmet, by the time they grow into it, they should be done with it because their head would be symmetrical. They've grown into that symmetrical head shape. In very severe cases, we do need to grind into the foam. And okay, I don't have a helmet right next to me. When I go into the next room, I'll show you about that and grinding into it. We can grind into it to create more space. So here's my little model head. So this is so cool. How we do the scanning is an iPhone. So I take this, I log in. Oh, I've been logged out. So completely portable. So I didn't see anybody that I recognize as like a therapist, but you know, if a therapy clinic like Fond du Lac, a little bit further away, if they're like, hey, we've got, you know, a couple of babies, we're wondering where they're at, I can come down there, do the scan so the parents can double up on appointments and they don't have to come here. So that is a really awesome benefit of having the curve capture software. So we just register this. So it registers it, and then I'm gonna kind of do the scan from over here so you can see. So it's super easy for me. I mean, obviously it's easier on a baby that's not moving. A baby that's moving is a little harder, but still pretty easy. So we put this sock on, baby looks kind of goofy, and then we can just work our way around. It takes a series of pictures that it can turn into a 3D model. So you can see here, you can see it tells me like, you are 22% done. I go around, I don't have to do that whole thing, but essentially, yes, you go around, you get a whole scan of the head. Any questions about that? Okay, so I'll give you a little view of better view of the office. So if we kind of spin over here, so we've got our windows. Yeah, so that's my exam room / office. It's like the best room in the whole place, so I use it as the exam room, and then I use it as my office as well. So Kay is asking, do most insurance plans cover some of the costs? So Kay, thank you. Great question. You're on fire today. So a lot of insurance companies do, some don't. Some, it depends on the plan. Some have very specific policies. So like, yes, helmets are covered if you've had 2 months of repositioning efforts or therapy, plus it's a 10 millimeter or more difference, and the baby is between 3 and 18 months. So really every insurance company is very different, and it ranges from being excluded and not having any coverage to being covered at 100%. So we take that on just kind of a case-to-case basis. We have some insurance contracts and are continually trying to get more insurance contracts. We also have a really deep discount for our private pay patients. So what private pay does is it allows you to have the treatment in your hands. So instead of saying, oh, if you want to wait for insurance, almost always we have to do an authorization. So that means that can add anywhere from 2 to 4 to 6 weeks onto the timing, just because we have to get notes from your doctor, we have to get it submitted, we have to make sure the prescription is in there, submit my notes. It can just add on time. So the benefit of that private pay and me having it discounted so deeply is that you can say, my baby needs a helmet, all right, let's order it today. You don't have to, you can still wait, we can do a follow-up. But it's a great option. So Sarah asks, how many appointments will I have to have? So that depends on the severity. We're gonna have, so let's do like example, you come in, yep, your baby qualifies for a helmet. You feel like, yep, it's something that I notice I want to do. We order the helmet that day. You're going to get the helmet fit within about 7 to 10 days. Then we're going to do a 1 week follow-up. We're going to do 2 weeks after that. And then we're going to do 2 to 4 weeks until your baby's done with the helmet. The cost is the cost of the helmet, and that includes any and all appointments. So it's a lump sum cost. So you're not having like co-pays or payments at each and every appointment. It's one time. And then Katie asks, how long on average is a baby in a helmet? And that kind of goes along the same lines. So 3 to 6 months is the average timeline, but it's going to depend on severity. We're working on growth. So sometimes you get a baby in a helmet, they hit a growth spurt right away. They maybe only have to wear it for a few months. I tell every parent, plan on at least 3 months. You're going to capture some growth spurt in a 3-month period. Kind of plan on at least 3 months. Usually by 6 months, you're going to get it. And then every once in a while, if it's a pretty severe case, it'll be a little bit longer than 6 months. So hopefully that answers you guys' questions. I see a few more people might have popped on, so I just want to throw it out there that throw in the comments your name and where you're from. So if I have giveaways, I'll pick for gift cards so I know where to send them to, and to make sure that if you're not local, you're not getting a Seth's gift card. So yeah, throw that in there. Again, kind of throw it in there what you're hoping to get out of today so that I can make sure I hit on all those things. So I'm going to give you the sneak peek. So that's kind of where you'd see if you were a patient coming in, but I'm going to give you the sneak peek look, the behind the scenes into my workshop. Okay. So kind of cool, not that cool. But so this is my workshop. So this, I think sometimes what people forget is the helmets are custom. They are made off of a 3D scan of your baby's head. Hey, Maddie, thanks for joining. I'm keeping it real casual, so just throw any questions in that you have. This is my secret behind the scenes tour. So the helmet is custom to your baby. It's a 3D scan that's taken with the iPhone, like I showed you. Then I go on my computer, it gives me a 3D model. Okay. I will connect with you, Maddie, after. And then we get the helmet. So we get the helmet, it comes on this model. And the model is corrected to a certain degree. So they actually build in space into the helmet for the head to grow into, like I was mentioning before, because helmets are based off of growth. So that's built in there. Any adjustments we need to do, the first fitting, we're going to get the helmet, it's not going to fit perfect. It's going to be a little low on the eyes. We'll want to like trim that up so it hits just above brow level. Might be over the ears a little bit. We want to make sure we trim it so it's right around the ears. So that's where we do that here. So I've got my grinder there. It's got different attachments, so I can buff the edges and make sure they're really nice and smooth and things. But that's in my workshop. I know, not that cool, but kind of cool. Just gonna check here. All right, how am I doing on time, everybody? I want to make sure I'm respectful of everybody's time. 2:24. Okay. Oh, we got lots of time. Thanks, Kate. This also doubles as my lunchroom, so that's here too. So yeah, throw any more questions at me. I don't know. I want to answer everyone's questions, but I don't want to take too much of your time if I don't need to. So, and Maddie mentions resources. So we do have a ton of resources too. These are kind of a couple of my favorites. So we have the I know it's backwards, but will a baby's head round out on its own? And it just goes through a lot of the research showing that not necessarily, because that's a lot of times what we want to address. Kay says, do babies have to wear helmets 24/7? So we recommend 22 to 23 hours a day. Basically, the head is growing all day, every day, and we're capturing growth. So I really push this with patients and kind of say, if you're going to do it, like, go all in. Just go all in, because if you're not wearing the helmet, if you're like, well, we'll just wear it at night. That's the only time they're on their heads. Well, but they're growing 24 hours a day. This helmet is designed for a specific head shape. And if the head starts growing outside of that head shape, that's when we can run into issues with skin breakdown and things. So it really is, it's like all in, and it's 22 to 23 hours a day. And we go through what that breakup time looks at a fitting. So Beth asks, what's the best age to start with a helmet? So I think the best time to get assessed or have it addressed is between 2 and 4 months. We're probably not going to fit a helmet before that time. Usually around between 4 and 6 months is the best time to fit a helmet, but to diagnose and start treating and doing therapy and things like that, that 2 to 4 month period is a really great time. And then Hillary asks, do I need a referral from my pediatrician to come and see you? No, you don't. So free consultation, you can come in. If we do a helmet, if we decide that's the best treatment option, then we'll get a prescription at that time. You can have one, that's great. It just saves time on the back end, but you do not need one. You can come in, we can just talk through options. Like I was kind of saying in the beginning, really just wanting to create a safe space for parents to ask questions and to make sure they feel like they're not going to feel like, oh, I did something wrong. Like, nope, we can just talk through it. We can see what some options are, and create that safe space. Thanks, Heidi. All right, I'm going to stick on here a little bit longer because I want to make sure if anybody pops on later, but that's kind of my full tour. So throw questions at me if you want. Again, make sure you comment, because that's how we'll throw you in for the giveaways. And it's Seth gift cards and Target gift cards. So Emily asks, what's the best way to get more information? So I would say website kind of has everything. And then I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. So those are both great ones too. But website is probably going to be the best. And that is www.babybearcranialclinic.com. babybearcranialclinic.com. Well, again, thank you guys all for coming. I really, really, truly appreciate it. Brooke, I can. Sure, why not? Give me just a second. So Allison asks about other events. So I'm having another open house tomorrow, and then I will be having some Facebook Lives or Instagram Lives, more educational. So getting a little bit more into the details about some of the educational stuff. So I'm going to show Brooke how the grinder works. So if I'm here and I'm like, oh, it's a little bit too high, I like to do more of this kind of swooping V. So I'm going to mark it on the helmet. Then I'm going to come over here. Make sure I've got my safety equipment on. So I get kind of that shape. And then I would go back and do it with a lighter sanding cone, and then I would go back and do it with a buffing cone so it's nice and smooth. The edges are all nice and soft and rounded. Thank you, Darlene. Thanks, Kelly. Brooke, there you go. All right, I'm going to walk back into the lobby. So that's that. And again, thank you all for, I really truly appreciate you coming on and supporting me. I've had amazing support from all of my family, friends, community, people that, you don't necessarily expect it from. Even in this building, like Dr. George has been so supportive. Dr. Kita has been really supportive. I've worked with, so Sign Country did my signs. Love that one. I worked with Jeff there. He was awesome. Kayla with KL Creative Designs helped me come up with my logo. She put, so much effort into making sure we got it just right, and he looked just how I wanted him to look. And then I mentioned before, like the merch, Nathan and Stephanie have been awesome as well. Anna Franklin Photography took all of my photos that are on my website, things like that. And then I think I mentioned my family has all been really amazing as well. All right, everybody, enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the sun. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks for popping on. I appreciate it. Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Moo. Lots of love, lots of love. Okay, let's see. So if anybody came on late, feel free to throw any questions on me. I'm just kind of finishing up a tour, but I'm happy to walk back through. I know I said I'd be on until 3, so I'm going to hang out here. But yeah, thank you for coming, everyone. So Sarah asks, where am I located again? So again, the address is 2535 Northern Drive. And that is off of Prospect, off of the Prospect exit, right on the side street. So we're super easy to get from off of the highway. The building we're located in is just above Little Critters Dentistry. So you would park in the upstairs parking lot, come in the front door. And it's really easy to get in. If you don't have to like carry your baby a far way or anything if they're in the carrier. It's really easy to get in here. And it's, everybody that's walked in is like, oh my gosh, this space is so amazing. And I agree. It's just, I love it. The space itself, and I love how everything, the design and everything came out. Just kind of keeping an eye on who's in here. If anybody's just popping in, make sure you commented so I can throw you in for the giveaway. Oh, Kelly, great question. So she says, do you cover just the valley or all over? So, I mean, all over. I am the only cranial remolding orthotic specialist in the area. So the next closest one is Milwaukee area. So really covering any and all of that area. And yeah, like down to Fond du Lac, Oshkosh, west as well. Yeah. And I mean, anybody can come here for sure, because there's not a lot of specialists in the area or in Wisconsin in general. There's people who do it, but being a specialist means this is kind of what I'm putting all of my effort into, all of my energy, keeping an eye on research, keeping an eye on technology, staying up to date with trends, all that kind of stuff. So this is it. Just gonna keep an eye on, see if there's new people popping in, so I can make sure that they're not like, what's going on? Oh, like Amy. Hey, Amy. So I just finished up my first swoop through the office. Swoop through the office, but I'm hanging out here. Paige wants to see my bows, which they're so cute. So, yeah, so bows too. So I love the designs on the helmets. I love when there's kind of the extra little thing. It can just make it a lot more fun for baby, for big sister, for mom, just to make it more fun. Here's some other ones that are super cute. And this, again, kind of shows how there's the outer plastic layer, inner foam. I would say the majority of families say it's not as bulky as they had expected. I mean, it is something, but most families say it's not as bulky. And I think the reason is because a lot of times the ones, like, it's sized to your baby's head. So if your baby's head is smaller, the helmet is proportionately smaller. Bigger, the helmet's bigger. So it is proportionate to it. Amy, where are you joining us from? So I guess I can talk about this too, because like I said, I'm gonna hang out here until 3. So one thing that it took me some time to realize was that what I was doing was something kind of special. Like, not every orthotist, oh, awesome, Aim. That not every orthotist likes doing helmets, not every orthotist is good at doing helmets, and not every orthotist is good at working with parents. And that's, I guess, any, practitioner. But that it was something kind of special that I was able to take these parents who were really nervous, maybe they were even feeling like guilty, like, what did I do wrong? And help them to feel comfortable, help them to be at ease, talk them through this, and then making sure that they feel like they're comfortable with the decision, whatever that is. And I love working with this population. I can relate to parents very easily. I have 3 boys. They're 6, 4, and almost 2. So, I've been through all this. And by the time I'm done with a family, because they're coming in pretty regularly every 2 to 4 weeks for a couple months, I feel like, like I'm losing a friend. Like, I love working with the parents. I love working with the babies. Yeah. And Amy asks, are you doing virtual appointments or something that must be done in person? So I'm doing virtual consults. You would need to be able to come to the clinic, but you can do that even if you don't have a clinic in your area and you're like, hey, I just want to ask these questions. I just want to have some answers. Absolutely. I will do that for anybody. So yeah, I can do the virtual consults, but to actually get a helmet, you would need to be able to come to the clinic. You'd be surprised, people travel pretty far. I'm a part of a lot of Facebook groups, like support group kind of things, and people travel pretty far to go to these specialized clinics because you can have a pretty bad, people have had bad experiences when you're working with somebody who isn't experienced. And it's this is your one chance. This is, you can only do this until about 18 months. And a comparison I make of the like kind of one chance thing is braces. So teeth braces, I can kind of compare to braces on a few different things, but with braces, it's something that can be addressed, at any point in a person's life. With the cranial remolding helmets, it can only be addressed until 18 months. It's your one shot. So if it's something that you feel like you need to look into, definitely look into it. Sarah asks if she can get more information sent to us. Absolutely, reach out. Maddie, I'm going to reach out to you and let me know what you'd want, if you want pamphlets or just cards or whatever you want. But absolutely, I can send stuff out. I just got a ton of new literature printed, so I can, or not printed, sent to me that from the Star Band, so I can get that sent to me. So Kay's asking, how long does it take for a baby to be comfortable in their helmet? Honestly, what I tell parents, so there's a week break-in period, and I always tell parents, the report I get back is it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So day one, you're wearing the helmet for up to 2 hours. So they're just kind of getting used to it. You're just kind of getting used to putting it on. And you sort of double that every day up until you're wearing it that full time. So by a week, almost always babies are used to it. Sometimes parents will report like, oh, they're having trouble sleeping with it. Almost always they're too hot. So picture they have this like big thick helmet on. They've got like a snowmobile helmet on. They're sleeping in it. They need to be dressed light. So usually if they're waking up at night, it's probably because they're too hot. There's some things we can do with helmet. We can put holes in, but usually it's just how they're dressed. And kind of a funny thing is parents often are like, oh, I want to do the helmet in the, I'm glad it's falling that they're going to have the helmet in the winter and not the summer. And oddly enough, I feel like babies in the winter have more issues with heat stuff than in the summer. Because in the summer, if your baby's hot, they can sit around. In Wisconsin. In the summer, they can sit around in their diaper. Wisconsin in the winter, you're not going to have your baby sitting around in their diaper. So time of year really doesn't matter. It's more just dressing in layers, keeping them light. And when I say like issues with heat, it's usually them having a little bit of redness. Like a lot of times on the cheeks, they'll get a little bit of redness. They'll call me, we'll adjust what they're wearing, put a little bit of Aquaphor, and then they're good to go. And that's something too, so like here I've got little Aquaphor samples. I've got my little spray bottles to put the cleaning with rubbing alcohol. So I've got the little bottles to give to families so they can throw that in their diaper bag, put some rubbing alcohol in there. So yeah, I guess, Kay, my answer is a week or less. And usually less. Usually like the first day they're leaving it here, parents are like, I can't believe they don't mind. Because a lot of times parents will be like, they hate hats. They're going to hate this. It's just not the same thing. They can't take this off. We put the helmet on. We get them redirected right away. Make sure that they're kind of laughing, smiling. Usually they're just fine with it. Kind of the same thing with like, with babies. Like when they start to get tired and they might kind of like pull at it or push it, but they don't. They really don't mind them. And if there was something, there's options, there's adjustments we can do to make it so that they can wear the helmet. What other questions you got for me? Does anybody have personal experience with a helmet? Besides me, I kind of told, if people are not, I told in the beginning about my son wore a helmet. But does anyone else have any personal experience? Throw a thumbs at me if you do. Looks like not necessarily. And that's good. Great. Okay, so I'm just going to keep talking. So another thing, Another thing I get asked often is, like, why is this more common? Why do we see this more often? So I feel like a couple of answers to that. I think I mentioned this earlier, but Back to Sleep campaign. So in the mid-90s, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended that babies start sleeping on their backs. That reduced SIDS by almost 50%. So 50. Obviously, totally worth it to have our babies sleeping on their backs. The other thing, the increase in multiples. So when we have twins or triplets, they're kind of crammed in there. That increases the cause. So, and with twins or multiples, it's not that there's just a flatness in the back. What we see a lot is a flatness on one side of the head. And that is almost always, I'd say 90% of the time, it's in association with a torticollis. And what torticollis is a neck tightening. So it's not that the baby just prefers to look one way, it's that they physically can't look the other way. So they're always looking one way, they always have flatness on the back. And that's when you really want to get therapy involved. I know a lot of times people use chiropractor too, or craniosacral therapy, but that's when we want to really work on the root of the issue, which is that neck tightness, and then work on the head shape in conjunction. But we want to be working together with the therapists and chiropractor and other medical professionals to make sure that we're all kind of treating this together. Other things that contribute to it being more common is more container use. Babies, car seat should be for car safety, not necessarily as a baby holder. Now, does that mean that I never let my kids sleep in a car seat? Nope, I did. All of my kids did, but just being conscious of it. And if you do notice that flat spot, then maybe you are taking them out more, you're wearing them more, you're holding them differently, you're doing, stretches and exercises and things like that. But that was also a contributing factor. All right, got a few people left here. So Amy asks, are there situations where a helmet doesn't resolve flatness? So yes and no. The only times I've run into this where I feel like at the end of treatment, I was like, I wish we would have had better, is when we started too late. So if we're starting at like 10 months, starting at kind of 9-10 months, where we just don't have enough growth left in order to get enough correction. So I would say, so if we start too late, and then the other reason we don't get correction is non-compliance. If parents aren't actually having their baby wear the helmet, we're not going to see the results, because we have to be holding those high spots in order to allow the head to grow in the other direction. The head's going to grow in the path of least resistance. So how did we get this flatness? There was resistance. There was the ground or the bed that was on one spot for whichever reason. The head grew in another direction. So in like a brachiocephaly, it's in the back. The head's going to grow up and wide. In the plagiocephaly, you're going to see it in the other diagonal direction. So the head's going to grow in the path of least resistance. We have to create resistance in the other direction and let the head grow into the helmet. So those are going to kind of be the two reasons why we don't see correction. But if you're compliant and if we get started soon enough, we always see some correction. Are we going to get them in? Are we going to get their head perfectly symmetrical? Probably not. Most of our heads are not perfectly symmetrical. Most of our faces are not perfectly symmetrical. But we want to get them down into that mild or normal range. And we almost always do that if we're compliant and we get started soon enough. Thank you, Kay. Thanks, Paige. So you guys all asked a bunch of really great questions. Thank you for all that. Thank you for hanging out with me. Another question I get asked is, like, when they're done with the helmet, will their head go back? If they're still sleeping on their back pretty flat, will their head go back? The answer is no. If we look at what caused the head shape, so they were laying flat on their or say they're laying flat on their back. Well, newborns and young babies are sleeping, 20 some hours out of the day. They're on that a lot. As they get older, they're moving around more. And this is where, so there's some doctors who say it'll get better on its own. I don't necessarily 100% disagree with that. It will get better on its own, but what is our starting point and what is our goal? Because if we're starting at very severe and we want it to correct on its own into the mild or normal, that's probably not going to happen. If we're starting at moderate and we want to get to the mild or normal, that might happen, and that's when we're going to just kind of watch. But sometimes there's just not enough. As babies get older, they start moving around more. Okay, so going back to my original question. So, will it get worse? It won't, because they're starting to move around more. They're not sleeping on it. Their skulls are thicker. They're tougher. And when a baby's born, their skull is very malleable, so that it can get out of the birth canal, but their skulls start to thicken up. So it's not as malleable as they get older. They're moving around more. A lot of times they're no longer sleeping on their back. So really, if they had torticollis, we've worked with therapy. We're making sure that the torticollis is resolved, so that by the time they're getting out of the helmet, all those contributing factors have resolved, and it's not going to regress. So if anybody's popping on, make sure you throw a comment so I can throw you in for our giveaway. Again, thanks everybody for coming. I kind of gave a tour. If anybody wants, if they're like, hey, I'm popping on late, walk around again, feel free to throw that in there. I'm going to stick on here for about 10 more minutes. Make sure if anybody's coming on late, I'm here for them. And yeah, throw any other questions at me if you want me to. Again, 2535 Northern Road off of the Prospect exit. Best place to get information is my website, www.babybearcranialclinic.com. It looks like we do have a few people joining on a little later. Oh. Throw some questions at me so I can talk. What else do I got? I'll change my scenery, walk through to the back again. So again, lobby. Oh, here's a little, this is my little planter from Letty Blue. So Kelly asks, do you take all insurances? Not yet. I'm working on it. So I am enrolled with Medicaid, and I'm working on a bunch of private insurances. So make sure you call and ask for that, because sometimes we can do out-of-network benefits. And yeah, we're continuing to work on those contracts. And then we also, like I mentioned before, we have a really deep private pay discount. So the benefit of the private pay discount being we don't have to wait for authorization. We can start treatment, whenever you're ready. We can do that. And that's a lot of times people have like HSA funds or things like that they can use to pay for the helmet with as well. Okay, I'm going to keep walking. Shout out to Paige. She got me some balloons, got some flowers. Flowers from my mother-in-law and my sister. Oh, I know what I didn't show you guys. I guess I can do this. So I'll show you how that scan comes up. So we do the scan. And then, I think this logged me out. Sorry about that. Okay, so after we do the scan on the iPhone, I come over to my computer. You guys can see that, right? And it gives me this 3D model. And we can take it, so like right now the alignment's a little bit off, so I would come in here and I would realign it so that everything's nice and straight. We can look from the back, the side, top down. We can look at ear alignment. So you can see here, top down, I think it's a little crooked for you, but how we have more flatness on the one side. This kind of has this long sloping, it's more rounded here. A lot of times we see some asymmetry in the face and the forehead as well, because when we take that head and we slice it in half, we push everything on this side forward. So we see that ear going forward, jaw, eye, we kind of see everything shifting forward. So yeah, we wanna see that. And yeah, this is where this one's. And kind of move this up. We would realign this one. You can get a general idea here of that 3D model, which is quite amazing if you ask me. I find it super amazing. So if anyone's just kind of popping on, I see my numbers kind of going up and down. So hello, I did my kind of walkthrough. Let me know if you're like, hey, walkthrough again. I just popped on. I'm in my exam room right now. Let me kind of turn here. So it's got an awesome view. And if you didn't already, comment in the live so I can make sure I put you in for our drawing for a couple of gift cards. Thank you for coming. Two, if there's anyone out there and you're like, I wanna see this in person, if you're a therapist or something like that, I would love to set something up so you can come in, kind of see what we have here, see what we can do. And then as I mentioned before too, our scanner, which is this, is 100% portable. So I can do scans at remote clinics if I need to. I'm not doing in-home, but I am doing clinics. So as long as there's some sort of clinic space, we can set that up, whether it's chiropractor, therapist, doctor's office, anything like that. I would love to be able to bring that service to you so we can make it a little more convenient for our patients and we can get that objective data. Because then off of this too, if I come back, it gives us all these measurements. Oh, let me keep turning. So it gives us all these measurements and okay, and I can print off a report. I then take that report and send it to the doctor. If we have a referral, I'm going to take this report and I'm going to send it to the doctor and say, hey, here's what we found, here's what I recommend, here's what the family decided to do, so that we're communicating back to them. And if I say, here's what I found, I recommended a helmet, but mom said she's just not ready to commit to that yet, she wants to wait another month, we scheduled a follow-up in a month, we'll remeasure at that time and determine what the outcome is. So we have this report here. And I can print that off for the family, email it, do whatever I need to, fax it. All right, everybody, I made it. We did it. Thank you so much for coming. I really hope that I can be of service to you or to a family member or to a friend. I know a lot of you on here, and I know a lot of you might not necessarily have a baby that needs a helmet or have a baby that has a flat spot, but please feel free to spread the word. Like I mentioned, I want moms to feel comfortable asking the questions. I had a consult last week where the mom's like, I'm not going to feel comfortable one way or the other unless I have the information. And I feel like that's pretty common in today's society. We want to at least have the information. We want to be educated on it, and we want to make an informed decision no matter what that is. So please spread the word. And I can't wait to welcome you to my clinic. All right, thank you. I am signing off. If you think of any questions after, please feel free to put them in the comments because they will still pop up, so I can definitely answer them. And I'll be doing some more lives as well. And tomorrow is my open house. I just wanted to do another time slot, so feel free to hop on again if you want to get entered for my drawings, because I'll throw your name in there twice if you're on for both days. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you.